India Legal. Stories that count.
Hello and welcome to another special readout from India Legal magazine. As you know, we are the country's first independent weekly political legal publication focusing on controversial issues of national and international importance and significance. This time, we take you to the United States of America. Our story is about the latest political and legal shenanigans involving SCOTUS, short for Supreme Court of the United States, which is often referred to as the world's tallest hall of justice. Many of India's groundbreaking constitutional judgments have been based on examples taken from American court rulings and observations. But SCOTUS has had its share of controversies and smears. The present India Legal readout is from a special report filed by our US correspondent Kenneth Tiven. He's been one of our most prolific contributors with an enviable professional record. Tiven was founding vice president for CNN News as well as foreign editor of the iconic Washington Post. Americans got a unique view of Supreme Court high drama last week, all focused on two women, one of whom, Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, will be appointed as Justice of the Supreme Court, while the other is married to a Supreme Court judge. So let's take a ride with Tiven and, in his words, into the world of two women. The other woman is Virginia Thomas. Her husband is Justice Clarence Thomas, a sitting judge in the US Supreme Court. She was revealed to have played a role as a right-wing organizer supporting Donald Trump's fraudulent efforts to stay in office despite losing the 2020 presidential election. Is this consistent with the behavior expected of a Supreme Court spouse? That answer will be difficult to agree upon. But the details confirm the alarming behavior of Trump's senior staff and friends as he lost the White House. There is a code of conduct for all federal court judges and their families, except for the Supreme Court justices. The work and political life of Justice Thomas's wife has been questionable for much of the 3 decades that he has been on the court. It is emails and text evidence submitted to the House committee investigating the January 6, 2021 insurrection at the Capitol that has blown this into an issue greater than mere appearance. The emails from Virginia Thomas, who prefers Guinea as a first name, were between Ms. Thomas and White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, who was President Trump's last Chief of Staff before he left office, just days after the election. These were in materials subpoenaed by the House committee probing the January 6 insurrection to prevent these documents from being turned over to the Trump administration went to court seeking an injunction. And it was Judge Jackson, the person who's been nominated to fill the vacancy, who was then with the expedited appeals court, a lower court, who denied the White House claim of immunity, saying, and I quote her, "The president is not a king." At the Supreme Court, only Justice Thomas, Guinea's husband, voted in favor of President Trump's claim. It was within those documents that the evidence of how intimately involved Guinea Thomas was in the big lie campaign pushed by the White House, as well as the January rally that preceded a riot on Capitol Hill. Former CBS journalist Dan Rather, who famously asked in the 1974 impeachment of a president, that's President Nixon, quote, "What did President Nixon know? How and when did he know it?" Recycled the question this week, referencing Justice Thomas. Conservative Republicans are still angry that Donald Trump is now only a former president, having lost the 2020 election. Events and insinuations involving both Judge Jackson and Ms. Thomas this week speak directly to the ideological anger that Republicans are preparing to use as a key element in upcoming midterm elections, just 7 months away in November 2022. The role of the court the third branch of the federal system, has always been a hot button issue. This was amplified after the 1954 decision against racially segregated education, because the court interpreted the 14th and 18th Amendments as preventing state governments from passing laws which conflicted with the Constitution's equal protection requirements. And Nebraska Senator Ben Sasse, who has poked fun at his colleagues for their absurd attacks on Jackson, played the good guy first, saying, oh, Judge Jackson has impeccable credentials and a deep knowledge of the law, but then made clear his opposition based on the GOP, that's Republican position, about how the justice or justices should think. He said, she refused to embrace the judicial philosophy of originalism, which would unravel abortion rights as well as most of the other civil rights decisions that most Americans believe are settled law, firmly in the legal system and no longer open to debate. The rights Republicans mentioned in attacking Judge Jackson this week included the right to use birth control, access abortion, many across racial lines, to marry across racial lines, and also marry a same-sex partner. Basically, a return to the old era before 1954, when Dwight D. Eisenhower was U.S. president, and Indian democracy at that time was 7 years old, and Jawaharlal Nehru was Prime Minister of India. The week started with Republican senators failing to question Judge Jackson on serious issues. Questions were only incidental about her judicial qualifications, as she has twice been approved for federal judgeships. Instead, they challenged her decision with half facts or with sarcasm. 3 Ivy League educated lawyers who went to the best universities in the United States did not do much for the value of legal education, as they badgered her endlessly and rudely. As an African American woman with the highest credentials, she did not let them bait her into viral style responses. The showboating makes sense if you know that several Republicans on the Senate Judiciary Committee have presidential aspirations if Trump doesn't run in 2024. So they played bad cops, hoping for the Fox News soundbite, while Democrats asked the Harvard Law School graduate about several legal issues as well as her life's story. A newly appointed black woman replacing a retiring Democrat does not upset the 6-3 conservative majority on the current Supreme Court. The performative quote-unquote behavior was just for voters, the GOP, that's the Republican Party, they want to keep angry. The Republicans could not resist being outraged at things they claimed Democrats did in similar hearings going back 40 years. Many Republican senators focused their opening statements on the 2018 hearings for Justice Brett Kavanaugh. You may all remember that. He was credibly accused of sexual assault, but neither the committee nor the FBI followed up with a credible investigation. Senator Ted Cruz, whose problems with language are normal, described Kavanaugh's suitability issues as a matter of teenage dating habits. The accusation of sexual assault had nothing to do with dating, but nobody on either side seemed to even tacitly acknowledge that distinction. The committee will vote on her nomination on very soon, by 4th of April, and then it goes to the full Senate. Because the two political parties are balanced with 50 members each, a tie-breaking vote there, if needed, comes from Vice President Kamala Harris. The First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution brought together several threads of democracy that hadn't been included in the original document. It prohibits the establishment of a national religion and creates a special role for news media. James Madison, a key writer and thinker of the constitutional period, and later fourth president of the newly united USA, wrote that an established religion attacked the fundamental human right, an unalienable right of conscience. If lawmakers could destroy the right of freedom of conscience, they could destroy all other unalienable rights. That's what he said. Today, Republican lawmakers talk and act at the state level to restrict popular civil rights based on religious beliefs. Making voting difficult is a way for a minority to keep power over the majority. In responding to the Giddy Thomas emails, Mark Meadows, then Trump's chief of staff, wrote, quote, "This is a fight of good versus evil." He wrote this on November 24, 2020, in a text about overthrowing the will of the voters after Joe Biden had won the presidential election. Referring to Jesus Christ, Meadows continued, quote, "Evil always looks like the victor until the King of Kings triumphs. The fight continues," unquote. Meadows himself has a legal problem in North Carolina, where he is under investigation for using a friend's mountainside mobile home as his voting address despite not actually living there. This is a question of the pot calling the kettle black. This is Inderjit Badhwar. Until next time.
India Legal, stories that count.